Hi BookTube, Aaron here, hope you're doing very well. Today I'm going to be doing the worth every page tag, a tag where essentially you're just recommending some mammoth books that are worth every page. The tag was created by Shelly, Shelly Swear Engine, and I was tagged by Pat from Book Chat with Pat, so I'll have their videos down in the description. And as I said, the prompt for the tag is to recommend 3 big books, probably over 800 pages, such as the definition of a mammoth here on BookTube, that are worth every page, that are really, really good. And I was just watching Em from Em Reads, and she added something onto the end of this where, as well as recommending 3 mammoths, she then went through 3 mammoths that she feels she really wants to get to. So I'll be doing that as well. But to begin with, the 3 recommendations, 3 mammoths I think are worth every page. First up, this may be the least surprising of all of the ones I'll be showing you. It's The Magic Mountain by Thomas Mann, and this is probably my favourite novel. It's about a young man called Hans Castorp who comes up to a tuberculosis sanitarium up in the Swiss Alps. His cousin is staying there. It's only supposed to be a short stay, but it stretches out. It turns out he's also unwell and is being treated by this charismatic doctor called Dr. Behrens, and it just goes on from there. And really the magic of the book is the characters that Castorp meets up in the sanitarium, and the way that through his conversations with them and through his experiences there, through his following the regimen and routine of the patients there, which is very different to the life down in the lower world, down in the flatlands as they call it. Time just sort of in some ways stretches out and in other ways folds in on itself, and it constricts, and it's just really fascinating. And as a reader, you're kind of feeling that yourself as you're reading it. It's a really weird experience, and I've read it a couple of times and still felt it. And I don't quite know how Thomas Mann pulls it off, but it does feel like this strange magical experience, and it's this place that you want to be in, this place you want to stay in. So I'd really recommend it. And what was I going to add on there? There was something I was going to add on about the Magic Mountain. I mean, a lot has been said, and you can say a lot about it, but I'd really recommend it. And yeah, it takes a while. You have to sort of work a bit at the beginning. You get a bit of backstory, but I'd say it's worth it. And then the next 2 are non-fiction. This one I was maybe going out on a bit of a whim with this one, but this is Citizens by Simon Sharma. This is a chronicle of the French Revolution. I am not terribly well read on the French Revolution, and was kind of reading this as an introduction. Maybe that was the wrong way to go. It's quite a big introduction, but it's a big, baggy, all-encompassing look at the French Revolution, at the lead up to it, the sort of financial pressure of the of the state in the lead up to it, and giving you. I mean, I still don't really feel like I understand the kind of political, parliamentary setup that was sort of going on and being utilised in the lead up to the revolution. But I find it really fascinating. I feel like I just called it the Russian Revolution earlier on. It's definitely the French Revolution. But what I found valuable about this was that, um, it's a subject that I don't know terribly well, and I couldn't, go into depth talking about it. However, whenever certain characters from the revolution come up, I at least feel like I have some familiarity with them. Simon Sharma's approach, his writing is very energetic and really quite readable. It doesn't feel particularly heavy as you're going through it. And what he's trying to say really is a kind of corrective to, I suppose, what would have been the norm in approaching the French Revolution up until then, which is generally largely positive. Sort of thinking of it aiming to bring about a more equal society, that it was almost a sort of necessary step towards the modern democracy that that many countries have now. And it's fair enough. I think in many ways it was that. However, atrocities did happen, and the way that people sort of thought about keeping thinkers on side, keeping just the populace in general on side, about punishment for quote unquote dissenters. Suddenly, you can sort of draw these really weird parallels, or at least parallels that I wasn't quite expecting to draw, which is essentially drawing parallels between Robespierre and some of the French revolutionaries with some of the worst people in 20th century politics and history, such as Hitler and Stalin. And it doesn't do it too explicitly, if I don't remember, but it was an incredibly jarring experience the first time through, sort of realizing that's what he's doing. And I'd like to go back and actually reread this with, I haven't picked up tons on the French Revolution since then, but I feel like a second reading would be really helpful for me. But I'd still recommend it, and it is a wonderful work of popular history. And then the third one that I'm recommending is a biography. It's a book that I talked about, I think it was like a few years ago when I first started the channel, and it's Heather Clark's Red Comet, the art and life, the life and blazing art of Sylvia Plath. And this is just a wonderful, wonderful book. Probably one of the best biographies that I've ever read, and it is what it says on the can. It is an examination of Sylvia Plath's life, and a fair appraisal and a good critical eye at her work as well. And it just really brings her life to life in a way that seems respectful, a way that sort of feels like you're getting a good rounded picture of her life without seeming too sensational, I suppose. It's quite it's quite honest and just sort of straight down the line with certain things, particularly with her mental health and with her death eventually. So it's it's quite brutal in that respect. But I can just remember it being amazing, and just getting so excited about certain little details in her life. I've probably talked before about a chapter in here that's all about her her time at high school, and she had an amazing high school teacher who got her class just reading all of these amazing classics. And for a high school student, they were reading things like War and Peace and discussing it. I think it was an extracurricular book club that he set up, and she was a part of this. And just reading about her reading and what she was getting excited about was fascinating and really, really, um, I don't know, kind of infectious. And there were certainly books that she was reading in high school, and then when she went off to college, and books she was writing about in college and referencing, that just hearing about them and hearing about the effect that they had on her life really made me want to read those books. The Magic Mountain being one of them. Um, Certainly Dostoevsky. I think I haven't read The Double yet, but The Double was a book that she wrote about when she was at college, and yeah, so on. So that side of her growing intellectual life is just portrayed so vividly and amazingly, and then her growth as a poet as well. You're getting drafts of early poems in childhood all the way through to Ariel and the last poems that she would ever write. And again, just seeing her growing as a poet, and it all sort of culminating in this, in these really confident poems in Ariel, written right at the end. It's just amazing to see, and yet kind of jarring as well when you're looking at it in the context of her life as well, because there's the whole emotional roller coaster that you're on as a reader as you're nearing, nearing her death, nearing something that if you know anything about her is inevitable, and you know it's coming, and so there's that constantly going on as well, and she deals in a really holistic way with the aftermath, with her marriage with Ted Hughes, and how that was perceived. Many of the strange and damaging things that Ted Hughes did to Sylvia Plath's papers, and the way he sort of bowdlerized her work after her death to kind of control the public image of her, and then how other biographers have treated her as well. I think that's something she gets into quite early on in the book, and there are certain biographers that she has a bit of a problem with, and she wants to undo some of the sensationalization and just some of the stuff that's maybe in bad taste that's been written over the years, and so I found it wonderful. It's one of my favourite books that I've read in recent years, and I might try and get to this before I reread Sharma. And for a couple of years I've been saying I need to reread it, so at some point I will need to reread this. So that kind of blends into then the next section where I'm talking about Mammoths that I really need to read. So this is a really must reread. On to 3 Mammoths that I'm hoping will be worth every page. First up, Little Dorrit by Charles Dickens. I haven't read any Dickens for a good few years now, I think. I think, again, going back to when I first started BookTube, I was reading Bleak House, and I have a feeling that was the very last Dickens that I read. And so I've got a fair bit of Dickens just waiting on the shelf, and for whatever reason I just haven't got back to Dickens. And so this is the biggest in terms of page length on the page. I have a rough idea of what it's about, and I've seen the mini series, but it was the same case with a lot of Dickens before I read him, that I already knew the story more or less from adaptations and such. So it's not, it doesn't feel like too much of a spoiler. I still want to get to the book on my own terms and then see the difference between the book and the adaptation. Then next up, this one might be a bit of a cheat. It's technically 5 books, but having read a quartet by this writer, I kind of have the idea that they're going to work together in a way that suggests it's really one big book, and so I'm going to cheat with this one and include it as one. And that's the Avignon Quintet by Lawrence Durrell. I read his Alexandria Quartet last year, and it just really stayed with me. It's sort of one of those books that kind of grew after I'd finished reading it, and I want to reread the Alexandria Quartet, but I want to get to this first. So this is 5 books, and it sounds crazy. It includes, yeah, here we go. It includes buried plots, Gnostic cults, religious rituals, and a mysterious hunt for hidden Knights Templar's treasure. So that's some of what's going on in there. Yeah, and all books together is about 1,300 pages, so it's a fairly chunky novel if you're cheating like me. And then finally, one I'd really like to get to. It's one I was hoping to read a while ago, and actually looking at this, it's not actually 800 pages, so this is, again, cheating. It's just under the page length. It's 700 pages. I was hoping to read it last year, and I had a tentative buddy read scheduled, and then we weren't able to do it. And so at some point in the future, I will read this, whether it's part of a buddy read or whether I just do it solo. But I do want to get to it eventually. And that's The Balkans, 1804 to 2012 by Misha Glenny. And it's what seems to be a big picture, sort of zoomed out look at the Balkans from, that's the sort of Napoleonic period through to the near present. I think it was updated about a decade ago to account for sort of recent things that have gone on in the region. So again, do we have a in this now classic work, Misha Glenny investigates the roots of the bloodshed, invasions, and nationalist fervour that have come to define our understanding of the southeastern edge of Europe. In doing so, he reveals that groups we think of as implacable enemies have, over the centuries, formed unlikely alliances, thereby disputing the idea that conflict in the Balkans is the ineluctable product of ancient grudges. And he exposes the often catastrophic relationship between the Balkans and the rest of Europe, raising profound questions about recent Western intervention. And then it's going into how it's been updated. And I know almost nothing about Balkan history, about the various Balkan wars and just the turmoil in the region, and would like to correct that. I'm sort of fascinated, I think, with that area of the world. Well, I'm often just fascinated with almost anything that comes my way. I'm a bit of a magpie when it comes to almost any historical subject. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. But I think that's it. That's my 6 books that I wanted to talk about. 6 mammoths, 3 read, 3 unread. If you have read the latter 3, please let me know what they're like, and if you have any advice or anything, let me know. And please let me know if if you've been convinced to pick up any of the first 3 books that I showed. It would be good to hear if you want to give them a try. But for now, that's everything. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.